Hey, what's going on? It's Roger. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about going to the junkyards. I go to the junkyards for multiple reasons. Um, Obviously, mainly to get parts for my car. When you're building an older vehicle, it's probably the best resource besides going to the dealership or trying to find stuff on Craigslist. Um, and oftentimes, depending on your vehicle, there could be a ton of them. You know, how it depends how commonplace your vehicle is. Also, people have made it to help out enthusiast communities. People try to go to the junkyards and say, hey, I'm going here, I saw this type of vehicle, which might not be commonplace in other parts, or maybe not even the junkyard in other areas. And someone's like, hey, I need the center console, I need this dash, or I need this grill. Bop. You can always get it for somebody and make your little money and or help out somebody. Anyways, so when I go to the junkyard, like I said, I go for a couple different reasons. One of them is to obviously get parts for my van or car, you know, and sometimes people get parts of the junkyard really cheap, and they try to retrofit stuff or whatnot. For example, this is my Previa. If you understand the Previa, the motor's underneath the seats, and they keep this spot open. Okay, so a lot of people get center consoles, aftermarket ones that you can buy at Walmart or any of the parts stores, or they go to the junkyard and get a fancy looking one from maybe an Explorer or something like that, and it makes it look more bulky just because I don't feel there's much space between the seats. But for instance, this is from, I believe, a Kia Sedona. I saw it, and it's not, it's not too flashy, but I love that it does have a couple. It's flat, It doesn't stick out like really high or anything like that, and it's not perfect, Obviously not meant for the car, but it's good enough for me to just put junk on, and I haven't really put like drinks on here because I just use my center console, but I mean my cup holders. But it's there where I can put like obviously change and little stuff. And so getting parts like that to retrofit on your car is very commonplace. The other thing too is that, sometimes you find parts that maybe aftermarket or whatnot that could, that's for your car, and maybe just you want to save money. An example is, I know this dash mat doesn't fit. I mean, doesn't match my car or my interior, but I only paid $3 for it, and it was pretty clean. When I got it, I cleaned it up as much as possible and vacuumed it, and it's actually not that bad. And I've always kind of wanted to get a dash mat. I just didn't, want to pay $40 for it. At least that's the price I've seen on eBay. So, saving stuff like that to me, and how often do you come across these things? And so that leads to the other thing about going to the junkyard, is that sometimes you come across things that you wouldn't expect to come across. Going to the junkyards, you see a ton of different vehicles, and sometimes you find those older vehicles that, as I mentioned before, people are looking for parts and whatnot. As an enthusiast, like I said, I like to walk around the junkyard and look at different things and whatnot. Sometimes you can find stuff. I found $10 in a RX-7. I found, when I was building my 86 Mazda RX-7, I found the rear cat seats, or the 2+2 seats, and I got that for $20. With everything. So it's one of those things that it's finding these options and whatnot. But it's also sad as an enthusiast too, because you see sometimes you see good cars in good condition, good body, but for some reason maybe the motor went out, transmission went out, or electronic problems or electrical problems, and people just don't want to deal with it or pay the money, and they give up their car for whatever, $500 or whatnot, or it didn't pass smog, all types of different reasons. And so you see these cars and you're just like, man, you know, if that was my project, you know, blah blah blah, all the enthusiast pity and sorrow. But you know, it's one of those things too that I always like to when when I see a good car, I always feel sad, like, man, that would have been an awesome car. And I just kind of made it, you know, sometimes to get some kind of, this is, you know, some kind of memory from these cars. Like this is from a Civic van wagon. I think this is from like 80, 86, 87, 88, maybe at that EF Civic era or before. And I don't see them too often, but you know, it's like, hey, you know, I don't remember seeing the Wagovan emblem, so I decided to get it. And then, of course, if you look and follow cars and look around the junkyard, and sometimes you just find these hidden gems, things that people don't think about. An example is this cool box. I've been going to the same junkyard here in the Bay Area for the last few years, just checking out whatever I can and whatnot. And if you see my cool box video under the Previa stuff, finding one of these is rare, and it was only a Canadian Canadian spec piece, and this was in California, and this was going to be junked. You know, these are rare, non-US models, and even, well, like I said, these came from Canada, but they weren't abundant in Canada from what I understand too. So getting something like this and saving it, this is, you know, this is a 20-year-old vehicle, saving a cool box, you know, what's that, what type of rarity is that? You know, that could have been crushed along with the van if no one even picked up on it. And so the other thing too is that yesterday I was walking around the junkyards, and I saw one of my favorite cars, a 3000 GT. I looked at it, I was like, oh, feeling the whole sorrow for it. And then I go to the back and I see this. And I was like, whoa. Let me jump on my phone real quick and look at it and make sure it is what it is. And it's a JDM center piece for the taillights. It says GTO. Mitsubishi, you know, in Japan was called, you know, the 3000 GT in Japan was called the GTM. So this car was going to get crushed, and this piece was going to go along with it. Now, obviously, everything depends on budget and whatnot, and how you feel about getting parts for other people, or just parts in general. But I knew this was something, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So in the future, if I ever get a 3000 GT, or a friend has one and was willing to buy this for a good, you know, I'm not a person that overcharges, but getting something like this, I saved it. And sometimes when you go to the junkyards, we have to look at these type of things to save a piece of the car, because these cars aren't being made anymore. So anyways, that's my little spiel on going to the junkyard and finding these hidden gems and salvaging parts. What's going on? It's Roger. I made an earlier video about going to the junkyards and seeing cars and taking parts. One of the cars that I really like, I don't know if I'll ever own one. If I can and find one for the good price and all that's, you know, all these criteria, is the 88 Toyota Corolla All-Trac. Obviously All-Trac all-wheel drive. I don't know how rare they are, but I want to say they're pretty decently rare. And I remember a while back when I first heard about them, and they said, oh yeah, this has a storage compartment in the rear, in the ceiling. I was like, oh, that'd be kind of interesting to see. Well, I've looked at junkyards and I never found it, and the next you know, today I go to a junkyard in San Jose. Again, just, hey, you know what, let me kill some time. Let me see what's down there, Previa stuff, blah, 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 blah. I check out the Previas, nothing that I am looking for, running boards, and I start walking down the aisle. Okay, Civic, you know, J30, okay, Accords, a couple older cars. There's a Datsun, 280Z, 300ZX, 3000 GT, another one, with the, you know, everything stock and whatnot. And then I see a wagon. I was like, oh yeah, is this a you know, I'm not familiar with all the Corolla and Camry wagons, which I'm gonna start doing research on, but I do know a little bit about the All-Trac. And so I went up to there and I looked. I was like, oh, okay, Corolla wagon. And then I just kind of peeked into the rear of the hatch, and I saw this, and I was like, it's an All-Trac. Holy crap! And so I had pictures of that and a little bit of video. But once I saw that, I was like, okay, let me get this component out. And just because I had this dream of, man, if I came upon one of these, I would like to see if I can modify it to fit in a Previa. I don't know if it will or not, but I just thought it was kind of interesting idea to entertain. But the other thing too, like I said, these parts are cheap. I don't know whenever I'm ever going to see another All-Trac. The taillights were I mean, I wish I had more space to get some of these parts. But anyways, so I got this whole piece. And this is actually upside down. This is actually from hanging from the ceiling. There's speakers in here, but I took the speakers out. There's, you know, speakers here. And then what you do, this is the back. Oh, this is the front. This would open up. And if you're in the back of the trunk, you can open it from one side. So it kind of teeter-totters. And here's the hinge that are attached to these speakers. That's why I had to get these speakers set up. The hinge here is obviously the tilting point, but also on each side, over here and here. So if it's all up and I do this, it unlocks the back. So it'll tilt to the back, open up. Interesting. It's not very big space. I don't know. I'll have to do more research, but I don't know why they had it like that. Maybe it's with some clothes or a raincoat or something like that. It's not that big of a space, but I just thought it was interesting. So this is the rear ceiling storage bin. All right, I'm gonna see the dimensions of it on my Previa. Hold on.